terms of the traffic due to the closure of the Independence Bridge. But still, I mean, it's good to be back in the studio today, and the show must go on. Don't forget that you can be part of the show by calling us on 08025027711. I'll take that number one more time. 08025027711. That's the number to call if you want to be part of the show. Our discussion today is very, very important. We're looking at the pattern of rent increment in Lagos. And I'm sure that a lot of our listeners will want to contribute to that. Tell us, don't also forget that on the show too, we're not just talking about rent increment. This show is mainly for real estate matters. If you have anything bothering you in terms of real estate, if you have any question, you want to go into real estate investment, you don't know how to start, you want to buy a property, you don't know how to start, or you feel somebody is scamming you in terms of real estate and you need advice, call us, let's advise you. That's why the real estate doctor is always there every Wednesdays, 11 o'clock to, guide you properly. So I have a very important personality in the house, an industry expert who has been into the real estate business for a while now. Before I call my guest onto the mic, I'd like us to go on this very quick break. When we come back, we'll dive straight to the front burner of our discussion. Thank you.
Real Estate Matters with the Real Estate Doctor on Super FM 92.7 Lagos. Every Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. This show brings you an understanding of the business of real estate. Follow us on our socials at real_estate doctor. For sponsorship and advertisement, call us on +234 802 735 1727. Powered by Media House Promotions. Real Estate Matters, only on Super FM 90. Estate Matters. Estate Matters.
All right, welcome back. We're still in the studio, still on Real Estate Matters with the Real Estate Doctor. Before we went on that break, I said that I have a very, very important personality in the house. He's an industry expert and estate surveyor and valuer of repute, and that's the person of estate surveyor and valuer Olatokunbo Akinyomi. Good to have you in the studio, sir.
Thank you for having me, Super FM.
Thank you so much for honoring this invite. Today we're looking at something very, very topical. And for me, I think that a lot of Lagosians are going through this problem right now. Lagos is a city of about 22 million people.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's arguably the largest city in Nigeria.
Oh, yeah.
There have been a lot of conversations surrounding our housing deficit, no doubt. And kudos to a lot of developers who are coming into the industry to salvage the situation by bringing up low-cost houses, a lot of rent to own, a lot of packages just to make sure people who live under, decent accommodation. Yeah. So, just last week, somebody told me that a landlord took her rent. She stays on the island here. A landlord took her rent from 1.5 million. She stays in a mini flat. That's a room and a parlor, as it's popularly called. Took her rent from 1.5 million to 5 million naira rent. So if you look at that margin of increase, that's even more than 300% or even more than 400%. So tell us, what do you think has gotten us to where we are today? How did we get here? Because if care is not taken, like I said in my opening remark, a lot of people will practically shut down their businesses in Lagos, shut down their houses and relocate back to their villages. And we don't want that to happen because Lagos is going to lose focus as the hub of Africa. So tell us, what do you think has led us to where we are today in terms of rent increments? Now, if you don't have, even on the mainland, if you don't have anything close to 1 million, you can't get a decent housing. You cannot.
Yes, you're right. First of all, the topic is actually quite an interesting one.
Yes.
When I actually went viral with the posts, I actually got a lot of feedbacks from everybody, both the rich, the middle class, and the poor.
The rich is also feeling the pinch too.
The rich also cry as well.
Yes.
So, but basically, a lot has happened.
Yes.
And why do we find ourselves here?
Yes.
Basically, if you look back, Lagos has always been that place when you come into your own. Even if you're not based in Lagos,
yes,
you want to come to make it, basically.
For greener pastures.
For greener pastures.
Yeah.
So that is still sustained, basically.
Yeah.
People still come into Lagos every day.
Yes.
looking for the promised land, basically.
Yeah, promised land, yeah.
Both even expatriates as well, also too.
Yes.
Coming to when they've come to Nigeria, they come to Lagos first before they go anywhere.
Yes.
So that population has been driving demand. Supply of good properties has been limited and certain locations,
Yes.
but demand has been good, but supply has been very low.
Low.
But if we backtrack, basically, how do we find ourselves here? There's always been increase, but subtly. But basically, the inflation rate now,
Inflation rate.
vis-a-vis even the FX rate,
Yes. Foreign
and
exchange.
that happened, the foreign exchange thing that happened when this current administration came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the plans by the government were for good. That's another conversation entirely. People have that different opinions, but that's not what the show's about. But the FX rate basically caused inflation to spiral, basically.
Yeah.
And find out that people find out that their purchasing power has been limited. So landlords indirectly, property being an investment for them, look back to the property and indirectly start reviewing rent. I have landlords who are not even based in Nigeria who would call me telling me that the money that we're generating is not even enough. You know, even the landlords are detecting that. And we as surveyors as well also need to be good asset managers as well also too. You need to know the signs. You need to know what's optimal out there.
Yes.
We try to put a human face to what we do, but basically property as we are taught in school and still in practice and hedge against inflation.
Yes.
So most landlords actually had hedged the inflation affecting them by increasing their rent.
Yes.
Basically.
Okay, so that's well said. Well said. I mean, I like the fact that you took us back to memory lane, and I mean, particularly when this current government took office, and I think that this whole matter, this whole issue, can be traced back to when the current President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took office and removed fuel subsidy,
and the CBN rate as well. You know, dollar
rate.
used to be now in free market basically.
Yeah, so we're still going to go there because whether we like it or not, government policies has been one major contributor to where we are today in terms of rent increments, not just in Lagos alone, but in different parts of the country. So now, when fuel subsidy was removed, a lot of people there was nothing to cushion that effect. Prices of goods and commodities went up.
Yes.
The same issue with, so the fuel, cost of production also increased in terms of, people who want to build, cost of transportation for moving goods and services from one point to another increase. So everything now trickled down, and that's how, even so, for a landlord who spends an average of ₦1 million to maintain his property in times past, now you'll be spending, if you're not careful, you'll be spending 3-4 million naira on the same property for annual maintenance on that property, because
that's right.
cost of everything went up. But again, I think that some landlords are not also fair. That's the honest truth. Some landlords don't maintain any house. They don't do any annual maintenance on properties. But they are also cashing out from this inflation issue. They are also using this as an avenue to increase rent. Meanwhile, you don't even invest a dime on the property annually, because as real estate, as asset surveyors and valuers, we know that when you receive rent annually, you're supposed to set aside some certain amount of that money for maintenance of the property. So now, if it takes us to this question, now, what do you think can be a solution to this problem? Because whether you like it or not, this is a big problem. The rental values of properties all over Lagos are skyrocketed. Now you cannot, for those, and we are talking about how we want to solve our housing deficit. So the housing deficit numbers from 17 million to whatever, I don't think that those numbers will reduce anytime soon, because this will make a lot of people homeless. I've lost count of how many people who have called me this week because they have accommodation issues and they cannot afford. Because if you want to rent a new accommodation now, you will pay. There are other associated fees.
No doubt about that.
So what do you think is the way out of this? Because this is a problem.
The way out, first of all, is that we all need to look inward, basically.
Yes.
As professionals at the end, we try to put a balancing act to what we do professionally. Yes. Much as the landlord has employed us, and to get the best out of the property for them. Yes. But again, I tell most landlords that, the devil who is the tenant in your house, is better than the angel that you don't know. Yes. So if you tell the tenant that take it or leave it and they go, what makes you think that the next person coming in is going to do any better? Yes. We've heard about people that will gather that money, pay the first share rent up front, and then the second year they struggle.
if I'm currently going through that problem now, people who move in for the first year, they'll pay every money you request them to pay. The second year is a problem. And you end
So
up in court.
yes, so basically, so we try to appeal to landlord that let's find a balance here. Let's
Put a human face.
yeah,
to
let's
this
put a
thing.
human face to this. We know that prices have gone up,
Yes.
so let's find a balance to this. That's one. Now I'm going to take you back. I remember when I got married.
Yes.
You know, I just got back from my master's in the UK, then getting ready to settle down and all that.
Yes.
And coming from the UK, we're paying rent monthly.
Yes.
But coming back to Nigeria,
You have to pay rent annually.
no, it wasn't even annually during my time then. 2 years rent was prevalent back then.
Wow.
Yes. So if you don't remember, the old ones remember that there was a period in this country where rent was being paid 2 years in advance.
Yeah.
So I paid that 2 years rent in advance, and that ran for a while. I made that in practice. That ran for a while. But it was during the government of Babatunde Fashola that a law came out back then, the tenancy law in 2011,
Yes.
then where it now became, that 1 year rent should be prevalent.
Yes.
So most of my colleagues that spoke to me thought that, wow, this is going to lose inflow for us. But I
Well,
made them
a lot of
realize
people-
that
Sorry to butt in. A lot of people also faulted that tenancy law regards the duration of years to be paid, because that law categorically exempted certain areas of
yes,
Lagos.
yes,
And
it
became-
did.
For me, I think it made a mockery of that law, because if a law should cut across every section, everybody.
But you know
regardless
what? The thing there is that I noticed that the market changed basically, because now when 2 years was the prevalent thing back then, let's face it, yes, the people out there in the upper class, upper middle class, but again, majority of Nigerians fall within that middle class to lower class.
But
So-
you know, in the UK, rents are paid monthly.
Yes.
No exemption, no leave Ikeja GRA, nothing like that. All over the UK, a law is a law, regardless of the class of people who lives in that area, regardless of the location. Even in Kenya, I've lived in Kenya for a few months some years ago.
Yeah, they pay monthly
Rent is
over there.
Monthly too. So what's the problem? Why can't that be?
I think
in
that's
Nigeria.
where we're going to end up eventually. It's happening already in some instances. Now, I deliberately went back based on what is the way out. So I
Yes,
can tell
way
you
out, yeah.
at least the period when we were paying 2 years rent in advance.
Yes.
Now, at least for residential properties in certain locations, then you can
Yes.
pay 1 year now, which at least is some pain for
Yes.
people. But I also know some landlords and developers that are a bit savvy.
Yes.
It's a niche market they're targeting basically.
Yes.
They're targeting the young professionals
Yes.
and the students as well.
Yes.
So now they make it tailor-made based on, but I think they've done that checks. Okay, you have a good job, you can earn. So they make them pay monthly.
Monthly.
So I think that's probably going to be the way out, because the rental values are still going to go up. Lagos is Lagos.
Yes.
Let me take it back. Everybody knows what happened in December, 30 December.
That's in December. Yeah.
I'll give you this one for free.
Yeah.
The landlord are already planning for this Ember month already.
Oh, really?
Both the landlords here and the landlords outside Lagos.
Really?
And I'm speaking to my staff is actually having a viewing in Ikeja GRA.
Wow.
The landlord who wants to rent property, he's not based in Nigeria,
Yeah.
but he's around. He's going back to America today. Who wants to lease an apartment for Airbnb, basically. So they're targeting that. So there's going to be still going to be more pressure.
Let me also ask you, because for the want of time, are you also of the opinion that a lot of laws regarding our tenancy laws in Nigeria tend to favor the tenants more than the landlord? Do you also agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that, because we talked earlier about tenants that will come into your house
Yes.
and will struggle to pay rent. And for you to evict them,
It's a problem.
it's a process.
I have a
basically.
tenant that we're trying to evict for 2 years now. We're still in court.
Yes, so that's the thing. So if the law could realize that this landlord have this property, and that's why most landlords do what they do.
Yes.
Because the fact that after going through that pain to evict a tenant,
Yes.
then they now spend so much again to now probably refurbish the house again.
The house.
They will probably just, let me use the word, they will hammer the incoming tenant to that comparable market
Yes,
rate,
yes,
basically.
market rate.
So,
So
landlords talk among themselves, basically.
Yeah.
So they know what the next person is taking, and they're like, me too, I want that too. And they jack up their rent, basically.
So I think this is a very good platform for us to voice out to the relevant authorities. It is a lot of effort, a lot of financial demands for somebody to build a house. A lot of landlords, build these houses on loans.
Yes.
Some even take a lot of loan facilities just to make sure that they put their money into real estate investment. So I think that law should be fair on both the tenant and the landlord.
That's true.
That's the honest truth, because a lot of tenants, there's a certain tenant now who is owing me. The tenancy expired like 2 months ago, and trying to get this man out of the house is a problem. So eventually we might end up in court. But in a country where tenants will expect you to give them 6 months quick notice free. So a lot of them expect that 6 months quick notice. So
Yes,
I think
that rent free.
It's free.
It doesn't work that way.
That time is a free period for them to look for a house. No.
I tell my tenants that
Yes.
I'm trying to evict when we are
Yes.
at that process. I'm
Yes.
like, for one, you can't go to a hotel and stay in
And stay
hotel
with-
free.
for 6 months free.
So how would you
So-
think that you're beginning quick notice and you
those
stay in
are
somebody's
issues.
house
So
free of charge?
Please, if you are, so let me tell our listeners, please, the 6 month notice that is given to you whenever you need to vacate a house is not free. It's supposed to be a paid period. Please, so don't always come up with you give me 6 months free now before I move out now. Now so that they do it. That's not the way they do it. You have to pay. It's supposed to be a paid period. So in a case where the landlord has taken you to court because you see the pattern of eviction too is also something I think we need to discuss on this program.
Yes, please.
But before we digress, so I need you to help us, enlighten our listeners. A lot of landlords just wake up one morning and just slam tenants with rent increment without appropriate notice. Some landlords will wait for your money to expire and just come a day before and tell you your money has been increased to 3 million from 1 million without adequate. What are the process for rent increment?
The thing there is that in practice, and
Yes.
according to the tenancy law of
Yes.
Lagos as well, is that
Yes.
you need to give every tenant 6 months period to give a 6 months quick notice
Quick
so
notice,
they can
yes.
prepare towards
Yes.
that. It's also, you have to give a 6 months letter notice for increase so that
Yes.
they can prepare and plan their finance accordingly.
Accordingly.
Although that 6 months is also like a negotiation period as well, where you still on it,
Yes.
and then you go meet your landlord in between so that there's enough time to prep towards the next tenancy renewal.
Yeah, so the tenant can prepare whether if he wants to continue or not, and
Yes.
also there's also, and rent increment are not sacrosanct. So if you increase the tenancy of there should always be negotiation.
True.
It's not do or die. Oh, pay or you leave. So in a case where some landlord wants to do it as a matter of force, it now becomes controversial. The
It
tenant now becomes
becomes
messy. Then you say, okay, take me to court. Then you can now go to court, and our court processes in Nigeria is very slow. I have a tenant now, 2 years, we're still in court. The tenant is living in the house free.
You know what? I've been quite fortunate though
Yes.
in my own practice. Basically,
Yes.
I avoid contention as much as possible.
Yes.
I'm that kind of person that will advise my landlord that, you know what, even this 6 months,
Yes.
so that you can get him out as quickly as possible.
Yes.
So that has happened based on these are tenants that I didn't even put in the property.
Yeah, you never tell
You
them.
know, I do my due diligence basically.
Yes.
I'm not in a hurry to just put anybody.
Yes.
So I'm lucky. I hardly go to court basically.
Yes.
I've had to go to court last year, and guess what? Well, the tenant I met in the house. So
Yeah.
I had to go through that process,
Through
but
that
we got
process,
them out
yes.
eventually. So we
Yes.
try to make it as amicable as possible.
Good.
We let them see where we're coming from,
Yes.
and we shake hands basically.
Good.
Because
Excellent.
even these same tenants too, as well, are human beings.
Yes.
You know, I'll tell you this one. I have a tenant that, in the span of 5-7 years, has been in my house.
Yeah.
I gave him quick notice like twice.
Hmm.
The first time actually he had something terminal.
Yeah.
So when we found out, we soft pedaled,
Yeah.
weathered the storm, we let that
Yeah.
go. The second time was during the last administration. So we all
Yeah.
know the pressure on economy and all that. So the guy struggled.
Yes.
So we're on the path to a victim, and he begged and all that. And again, empathy, because I knew he was really trying his best.
Yeah.
But you know, the funniest thing is that
Yeah.
this same tenant of mine now is now into construction development now.
Wow.
Guess what? He appointed us as the facility manager for the
Wow.
property in Shonibar,
Wow.
posh location.
Wow.
So you see, if I decide that, you know what, Oga, get out.
Yeah.
Damn you, get out, you know.
Because
But
someone-
again,
or whether you
we like I
a
said,
tenant
we
and eventually
played that.
become a landlord, so-
Eventually, now he's not giving me job now. Can you imagine that?
So it's a very small. That's why we say that we must put human face to this thing.
Yes,
So
please.
I'd like us to go on this very quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Thank you. Don't go anywhere.
Real Estate Matters with the Real Estate Doctor on Super FM 92.7 Lagos every Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. This show brings you an understanding of the business of real estate. Follow us on our socials at real_estate doctor. For sponsorship and advertisement, call us on +234 802 735 1727. Powered by Media House Promotions. Real Estate Matters, only on Super FM 92.7, where real estate matters.
All right, welcome back. We're still on Real Estate Matters on Super FM 92.7. Our guest is still Estate Surveyor and Valuer Chukwuma, an estate surveyor and valuer of reputation and an industry expert. So we've been talking about the way landlords have been increasing their rent in Lagos. It's crazy. It's killing people. In fact, a lot of people have developed high blood pressure overnight because of this issue. And we think that the Lagos state government and even the federal government has to, step in. That's the honest truth. Some landlords, the impunity is too much. They just throw the letter at you and you take it or leave it. You have to leave the house, and that's another story entirely. So what's your advice for those who wants to? Because our time is fast spent. So what's your advice for? We've talked about real estate investments. It's a big deal anywhere in the world. So what's your advice for potential real estate investors who haven't keyed into real estate investments?
Okay, so when I went viral with this program,
Yes.
I started a conversation on the group chat I belong to, professionals as well.
Yes.
But you know what I said at the end of the day?
Yes.
We need to, yes, tenants are complaining based on they can't pay rent now. But
Yes.
again, the landlord as well didn't get there overnight.
Yes.
Tenants can become landlords tomorrow.
Exactly.
So my advice is that the Lagos Calabar coastal way that's about to
Yes.
happen basically.
Yes.
Yes, some people actually lost some of their investments along
Yes,
the axis.
true.
Some are going to be compensated.
Yeah.
But basically, that corridor is going to open up under new set of new town development basically.
True.
I've been down that location. I think I had the valuation there.
I was even there yesterday.
Yes. So basically, there are like loads of estate down that corridor. I couldn't believe it. This was like 2-3 years ago. So talk to that. So by the time this infrastructure comes, basically, I would advise most tenants now to also try to get on the property ladder. Basically,
True.
you can't be a tenant forever.
You can't.
Though I know some people that obviously want to live in town.
True.
They maybe have investment somewhere in the suburbs, but at least get on the property ladder basically.
Yeah.
So that's one advice I would give to most tenants to also start looking inwards.
Inward, yeah.
Ekpe already, from what I've been seeing, I'm hearing, plots in Ekpe are already doing 5 million, 7 million. That's Ekpe.
Ekpe that used to be like 500, 700,000 years back, yeah.
So I feel that we should look inwards basically. The opportunities
Excellent.
out there. Lagos is still growing basically.
Yes.
In fairness to Lagos State government, there's a lot of infrastructure works coming in.
There is. I agree.
I hope I got this right. The Green Line that's going to start
The
from
Green Line,
Marina
yeah,
down.
yeah.
So there's a lot of infrastructure that the government is actually doing, which is opening up so many places.
No, Lagos is actually a pace setter, and we cannot take that away from the Lagos State governor. I think he's doing so well. That's Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. So that's how far we can take on the show today. It's been a very wonderful time with you, Estate Surveyor and Valuer Chukwuma Akinyemi.
Thank you very much.
We hope that we can get you back to the studio anytime soon. There's just so much to talk about regarding tenancy, real estate investment, and all. So, thank you so much for having us. Please, till I come your way next time, stay blessed.
Thank you.